Very good morning to you. Objective Geology, multiple choice questions with answers. This is the solved question paper of CSIR Exam 1988 and 1989 question papers. I hope this solved question paper is useful for various competitive exams like CSIR, NetGate, GSI and other competitive exams. Welcome to set 1. First question. Although the abundance of potassium and sodium in river waters is almost same, potassium is highly depleted in sea waters because the options given are A. Potassium is insoluble in seawater. B. Potassium is inert to erosion. C. Potassium is used up in the formation of clay mineral. And D. Potassium is never carried to the seas by the rivers. The correct option is C. Potassium is highly depleted in seawaters because it is rapidly absorbed by clay minerals and altered volcanic rocks on the ocean floor. While sodium remains dissolved, potassium is continuously locked away in clay formations like illite. So the correct option is C. Potassium is used up in the formation of clay mineral. Next question. Which of the following is not suitable for dating tertiary rocks? The options are A. Uranium thorium, B. Potassium argon, C. Rubidium strontium and D. Carbon carbon. The correct option is C. Rubidium strontium. The rubidium strontium dating method is generally not well suited for dating tertiary rocks. Next question. The maximum age of the oceanic sediments would be A. Paleozoic, B. Cenozoic, C. Mesozoic and D. Proterozoic. The correct option goes as C. Mesozoic. The vast majority of oceanic sediments are Mesozoic or younger because the ocean floor is constantly recycled into the Earth's mantle via plate tectonics and most open ocean sediments do not exceed 200 million years in age. So the maximum age of the oceanic sediments would be Mesozoic. Next question. Thrust faults indicates A. Footwall has gone up in relation to the hanging wall, B. Hanging wall has gone up in relation to the footwall, and C. Shortening of the crust and D. Extension of the crust. The correct option goes as C. Shortening of the crust. Thrust faults are clear primary indicators of crustal shortening or contraction. They are a special type of reverse fault where the block above the fault is pushed upward over the block below that forms at a very shallow angle to the horizontal, usually less than 45. So thrust faults indicate shortening of the crust. C is the correct option. Next question. Mountain system is the most fragile of the ecosystems because A. They are subjected to frequent glacial erosion. B. They are characterized by many unstable slopes. C. They are characterized by vegetation having different lengths. And D. None of the above. The correct option goes as B. They are characterized by many unstable slopes. Mountain systems are considered the most fragile because they face a combination of harsh climatic extremes, geologic youth, and steep topography. Unstable slopes are a major factor as the force of gravity makes mountains environments highly vulnerable to severe soil erosion, landslides, and habitat. So mountain system is the most fragile of the ecosystems because they are characterized by many unstable slopes. B is the correct option. Next question. Considering that the precipitation is uniform over areas, which of the following will have maximum underwater potential? A. Valley fill, B. River terrace, C. Moraine and D. Badlands. The correct option goes as A. Valley fill. Valley fills generally have the maximum groundwater potential in a region even when precipitation is uniform. This is due to the unique hydrological and geological dynamics of valleys, gravity and runoff are the other factors, thick sediments and reduced slope. Next question. The intensity of chemical weathering is maximum in A. Ladakh region, B. Shillong Plateau, C. Rajasthan and D. Sivalix. The correct option goes as B. Shillong Plateau. The Shillong Meghalaya Plateau experiences some of the most intense chemical weathering in the world. The combination of the plateau's environment perfectly aligns with the climatic conditions which are required for high rates of chemical weathering. Extreme rainfall, warm temperature, and dense vegetation are the key factors. The intensity of chemical weathering is maximum in Shillong Plateau. Next question. The depth of water can be determined by A. Helium method, B. C14 method, C. Salinity temperature diagram, and D. None of the above. The depth of water can be determined by salinity temperature diagram. Temperature salinity or TS diagram, it is a fundamental tool in oceanography used to identify water masses, trace their origins, and understand the stability of the water column. Next question. The salinity of sea waters can be determined by the ratios of A. Sodium potassium, B. Calcium sodium, C. Carbon carbon, and D. Rubidium strontium. The salinity of sea waters can be determined by the ratios of sodium potassium. A is the correct option. Next question. Which of the following features is not associated with the karst topography? The options given are A. Pole J, B. Blind Valley, C. Sinkholes, and D. Kettle. The correct option goes as D. Kettle, because the Pole J's, blind valleys, and sinkholes are associated with the karst topography. Kettle is associated with the glaciers. So the correct option goes as D. Next question. Island is an exposed part of A. Mid-oceanic ridges, B. Island arcs, C. Shield areas, and D. Plateaus. The correct option goes as A. Mid-oceanic ridges. Island is the only large exposed landmass of the mid-Atlantic ridge, an underwater mountain chain that stretches across the Atlantic Ocean. It is a rare location where a divergent tectonic plate boundary emerges above sea level, straddling both the North American and Eurasian plates. Next question. Earth possesses an atmosphere whereas the moon does not, since the options are A. Moon has got one core, B. Moon has no water, and C. Moon has got less gravitational force, and D. Moon has got less oxygen. The correct option goes as C. Moon has got less gravitational force. Earth possesses a substantial atmosphere because its strong gravitational pull generates an escape velocity of about 11.2 kilometers per second, which is high enough to retain gas molecules. In contrast, the Moon's much smaller mass and weaker gravity yield an escape velocity of only 2.4 kilometers per second. Because the thermal velocities of gas molecules generally exceed this low escape velocity, any atmosphere the Moon might have had easily leaked into space. So Earth possesses an atmosphere whereas the Moon does not, because Moon has got less gravitational force. C is the correct option. Next question. Moho is the discontinuity between, very straight and simple question, A. Lithosphere and asthenosphere, B. Asthenosphere and mesosphere, C. Crust and mantle, and D. Homosphere and asthenosphere. So the correct option goes as a C. Moho is the discontinuity between crust and mantle. Moho is a Mohorovičić discontinuity. Next question. The least important method for determining the age of the Precambrian rocks is A. Strontium rubidium, B. Lead, C. Carbon 14, and D. Uranium lead. The least important method for determining the age of the Precambrian rocks is C14. Carbon 14 or C14 dating is virtually useless for Precambrian rocks because it has a relatively short half-life of 5,730 years and is only effective for dating organic materials that are less than 50,000 to 60,000 years old. Next question. Conservation of natural resources means A. Complete utilization of natural resources, B. Less utilization of natural resources, C. Less and effective utilization of natural resources, and D. Rational utilization of natural resources. The correct option goes as D. Rational utilization of natural resources. Next question. At the present times, earthquakes are normally measured by the modified Mercalli scale. This scale determines the A. Subjective intensity of earthquakes with the epicenter, B. Objective intensity of the earthquakes with the epicenter, C. Subjective intensity of the earthquakes, and D. Objective intensity of earthquakes. The correct option goes as A. Subjective intensity of the earthquakes with the epicenter. Subjective intensity, that means it rates the effects and impacts of an earthquake at a specific location. It is evaluated by human perception, observable damage to buildings, and disturbances to the natural environment. Because it is based on human observation and local construction quality, it can vary greatly from one location to another. So the modified Mercalli scale, it measures the subjective intensity of the earthquakes with the epicenter. A is the correct option. Next question. In the Bakranangal Dam, the underthrust of water is controlled by A. Gravity of concrete and cement, B. Elasticity of concrete and cement, C. Rigidity of concrete and cement, and D. Thickness of concrete and cement. The correct option goes as A. Gravity of concrete and cement. The Bakranangal Dam is a classic concrete gravity dam. Its immense mass and downward gravitational pull are exactly what keep the structure safely anchored against the immense horizontal and upward forces of the water in the Gobind Sagar reservoir. Next question. Which of the following lavas showed continued eruption throughout the year? The options given are A. Rhyolite, B. Basalt, C. Trachyte, and D. Andesite. The correct option goes as B. Basalt. Basaltic lavas are highly fluid and low in silica, which enables them to erupt continuously over long periods. For instance, eruptions at Kilauea or Hawaii and Mount Etna in Italy have shown nearly continuous effusive activity, occasionally spanning multiple years to decades. So basalt lava showed continued eruption throughout the year. Next question. We observe through the radiation to the distant galaxy, that is Doppler effect, in order to gain knowledge of their A. temperature, B. chemical composition, C. density, and D. position and size of the object in the galaxy. So the correct option goes as D. position and size of the object in the galaxy. Next question. Geostrophic wind has two components, which are A. Coriolis force and pressure gradient, B. Coriolis force and centrifugal force, C. Centrifugal force and centripetal force, and D. Centrifugal force and pressure gradient. Geostrophic wind has two components. These are the Coriolis force and the centrifugal force. Geostrophic wind, it occurs in a straight frictionless path where the horizontal pressure gradient force is perfectly balanced by the Coriolis force. Next is tips to prepare for competitive exam. Basing on the request of a number of students or candidates, so I have prepared tips to prepare for the competitive exam. So number first is go through the entire syllabus. So for suppose if you are preparing for CSIR exam or ONGC or UPSC exam, first the primary requisite is everybody do, that is very important. This is the go through the entire syllabus. In this, you should have a glance at each chapter or a paper or unit. So what constitutes that chapter? So that means what are the important things in that one? So you should have a complete glance, because remembering the words in that each and every chapter, it plays a very crucial role and it covers the entire syllabus. And you have to make the priorities. That means the priority chapters according to the marks. Suppose if you have specified chapters like if you do mineralogy, academic geology, petrology, they constitute more marks, and you have to make or read the priority chapters. Another important thing or the next step is you have to make a schedule, or how you have to plan the schedule. So for this, you should have either suppose if you have a long-term goal, that means if you are writing an exam within a year or more than that, and you have ample time, so the schedule, it may vary like that. So you should have a long-term goal. And if you are preparing for exam within a 3 months, that is, you should have a short-term goal. That means if you are going to finish the syllabus within the 3 months or more than that, then you have to plan the schedule accordingly. Suppose if you are going to write an exam within a month, so these are the very short-term goals. Suppose if you are you have to prepare for the weekly plan or day-to-day plan. So because days constitutes of weeks, very important. Every day reading is very essential, and every day repeating the syllabus or the thing what you have covered is very important. So for this important thing which plays a very focused on reading is important, that is hourly reading. So what is this hourly reading? Because most of the people think that they have huge syllabus, they can't complete within that time. But if you have plan, it is possible. So hourly reading means you have to divide the each hour into 4 time chunks. This is I'm giving an example. You can make accordingly. Suppose if you are making an hour into 4 time chunks or 3 time chunks or 2 time chunks is as per your ease. So like that you have to divide each hour. So 4 15-minute chunks, it constitute an hour. Okay. And meanwhile, you can take a break like 5 or 2 minutes like that, and you can finish. Suppose within a 15 minutes time, you can reach like 4 chapters or 4 units or anything, whichever easy. So like that, you have to divide each hour into 4 time chunks. And another important thing is the revise the syllabus. The syllabus revision is very important. This syllabus, how much you have to read and then revise. So for this, suppose if you are writing the exam within an year, then you can have the number of revisions like 2 or 3. So suppose if you are writing the exam within 3 months, then you can have a 1 or 2 revisions. So like that. So but this is very important. repeat. So most of the people, students, what they do is they read more and they forget more as well. So the thing is, whatever you read daily, so you have to revise that accordingly. So suppose if you have reading this much of syllabus at the per day, the next morning you have to revise, or you have to take a book and take a notes, and then you have to write what the topics, difficult points, you have to memorize that part. So this will help in remembering the things. So there is no shortcut, but here only the thing is very important thing is you have to revise the syllabus and you have to repeat that process. And another important step is practice previous year's question papers. So this is very important. How many question papers you have solved, and you can make a time unit, and then you can measure your time, or like that you can practice, or you can learn and then practice. So how many years of question papers, suppose 20 or 30, you can solve that. There are number of books are there, so that you can plan accordingly, and you have to practice the previous year question paper. For each exam, now books are available. Suppose if it's a CSIR or ONGC or GATE exam or GSI. So like that, you have to prepare the previous year question papers. What is the pattern and how many marks? Is there any negative marking? Is there any assertion reading type, assertion reasoning is there? Like that, you have to read, and then you have to make out the points accordingly, like formula based, or then theoretical points, or any solving problems are there. So like that. And another important step, the next step is measure your goals. So why this plays an important role? Because as the syllabus is huge, people will desperate very easily. That means I have covered this much is left over, this much is have not studied, I'm feeling nervous, like that the feelings may come. But the thing is, if you measure your goals, means how much you have covered exactly, and what are the things which are not covered, so that you can write it on a paper or notebook, so that you can plan for the things which are not covered, or if they are not that much important, you can omit, like that. So this measure your goals, it will give you a confidence, and so that your attitude may change, and you will have that like whatever the thing I have prepared very well. So like that type of attitude or behavioral action is very important for any exam. So you should have faith, and then these are the different four or five steps which are very essential to prepare for any competitive exam. In the next video, I'll make some more tips, so that you can secure more marks, and this may be helpful to you. So thank you for your time. Hope you have followed the content and the questions. You can subscribe to Explore Geosciences, and you can share if it is found useful. Thank you so much. See you in the next video.